All right, people. So, Donald Trump won, and obviously, if anybody was following my channel over the last year plus, they would realize that I am a Donald Trump fan. But I made my video on that, about how Donald Trump got elected, and I was happy and whatever. So I already talked about that. But I just want to talk a little bit more about this whole election. And I kind of already touched on this a little bit in my last video before the 2016 election video. Um, but I mean, do you people realize like how historic this is? This election, how big of deal this election was? I mean, first off, you have the Supreme Court. Um, I mean, that was just such a huge issue because there's probably going to be some appointees on the court coming up here in the next few years. So that's big right there. The whole Supreme Court. But I mean, other than that, I mean, this was the election. I mean, people are just tired of the status quo. They're tired of establishment politicians on the left and on the right. And Donald Trump really took that and broke through and succeeded, despite what the people in the media were making it out to be. I mean, the people in the media are so discredited. So I mean, so let's go right back to the beginning when he declared his presidency. Nobody took him seriously. Nobody thought he would win. Nobody thought he would even win. Go to number one in the polls. I mean, I mean, this was he was an underdog. He was a wild card. I mean, when people were making their projections prior to his announcement of who was going to win the nomination, he wasn't even in the conversation. So he announces he's running for president, and within like a week, he's number one in the polls, and he doesn't stop. He never goes down to number two. He crushes everybody. He wins. I wouldn't say, you know, pretty, but he stays at number one in the polls, and he pretty much wins the nomination handily. I mean, it wasn't like a complete blowout or anything like that. I mean, it was pretty close there at the end, but I mean, after people realized Ted Cruz was a sellout, he really went, up to number one and won easily going down the stretch. I mean, but just think about it. I mean, this businessman just comes on in and fucks shit up, just totally revolutionizes the way that campaigns are run too. I mean, think about the shit he said. He said he grabs women by the. I mean, in regular politics, the shit he said would never fly. 10 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. I mean, it's crazy the way he's revolutionized the world of politics and how campaigns are run. I mean, he won without having like, really a legitimate political operation. I mean, Hillary Clinton had a well-oiled machine, had a regular political operation, put out many more ads than he did, yet he still beat her. I mean, just this election was amazing. I mean, it was truly unique. And people, I mean, I've put so much time and energy into supporting Donald Trump and money as well too. Buying all sorts of products, with Trump T-shirts and whatever the fuck. I mean, I've put so much shit into it just to see him win. And I mean, it's still hard to believe that you're actually calling him. He's going to be our president in a couple months. President Trump. I mean, holy shit. I, I mean, the media has been just telling us that he's not going to win. He's done. After every little scandal, he's done. He's over with. So I am so sick of the media. I mean, again, they're so credited after saying all that shit that they're done. That Trump's done. That he has no chance of winning. That Hillary Clinton has a 98% chance of winning. I mean, and them promoting all those phony polls too, and they would always show the polls where Trump was down the most. They would never focus on the polls where Trump was leading and shit like that. They would always focus on the polls where Trump was behind, but by a lot, which shows their deception once again. So, I mean, this was just an amazing election. It was really the first time where we had a candidate that was. I mean, I have not been alive for that long, but I mean, just the media bombardment on this guy was ridiculous. I mean, clearly the both establishments hated him, and it was really the first time again where we had, or at least in a long time, a person from the outside who really had a legitimate chance of winning and who won the nomination, and again, who wasn't an outsider, who wasn't an establishment person. I mean, just look at the way he won the Republican nomination. I mean, the Republican establishment didn't want him to be the nomination. They were trying to fuck him over with these voterless elections in places, I believe, like Colorado, where Ted Cruz got all the delegates. I mean, that process was fucked up. And you also, on the other side, had Bernie Sanders, a guy who was another outsider, a guy who was, again, perceived by the people to be a genuine person, and who wasn't a um, typical politician. And I mean, it was, and this I said this I think in one of my previous videos. But I think if Bernie Sanders won the nomination, that he would have beat Trump in a landslide. I mean, I really think so. I really think Democrats picked the wrong candidate. I know all the establishment Democrats wanted to push Clinton because Bernie Sanders again was an outsider, and obviously he would not make those people happy. But I mean, coming even from a Trump supporter like myself, I don't think Trump would have standed a chance against Bernie because Bernie didn't have any scandals on him. He didn't have the email scandal. He didn't have a past political history of things like Benghazi and shit like that, in Whitewater and all this shit. He didn't have that. He didn't have any dirt on him, and he was the Donald Trump of the Democratic Party. So I think he would have won. So I did like him better than Hillary. I thought he was better than Hillary, but I was actually rooting for Hillary to get the nomination because I thought Donald Trump would have a much better chance of beating Hillary, and he did. He did again after everybody said he wouldn't. Nobody had, nobody thought he would. Everybody thought he would lose. After every scandal, so-called scandal that the mainstream media perpetrated against him, they were, they said, oh, he's got no chance. Oh, he's done now, guys. He's done, and they really underestimated him for a year and a half, and now he's president, and it's so fun seeing all these people so surprised and shocked at him winning, and I'm just laughing at everybody who said he couldn't do it, and I feel so rewarded that he won. I mean, and like I said, it's like I still can't believe it. It's like I'm still realizing the fact that we finally have a man who is for the people, who isn't part of again, not part of the corrupt system. I mean, this is again a revolution. This is a just something we've never seen before. People are sick and tired of the same old politicians who are selling our country out to special interests. And Trump is a manifestation of that idea that we need people who aren't bought and paid for, who are from the outside, who are independent, who are who have their own ideas, and again aren't bought and paid for. And like I said, I really can't believe he's president. I mean, it's just such an amazing journey, and again, we finally have a president who isn't bought and paid for. We have a president who is, again, from the outside, not a career politician. A president who's actually talking about terms like globalism and the whole idea of, we've never heard those ideas brought into the mainstream. I made that again. I said this in my video a week ago that he's bringing ideas into the mainstream that we've never heard of, that were called conspiracy theories. This election has brought so-called things that would be called conspiracy theories just a couple of years ago. Now they're just kind of common knowledge. Again, the whole globalism issue. So I mean, this election was amazing, an amazing experience, and I mean, now we just got to keep moving forward as a country. I mean, but like I said, I mean, you just gotta sit back and think about what we just took in there the past year and a half. I mean, that was something I think in America that I mean was truly unique. I mean, it revolutionized the way campaigns and elections are run. I mean, just look at the way Donald Trump goes out there and talks. I mean, it's so just different from the way a normal politician would talk. He's unscripted, he's unfiltered, and yeah, I mean, he may use a teleprompter at times, but you kind of have to because you want to talk about certain topics. But I mean, I went to what his rallies, one of his rallies 2 days before the election, and just watching him talk, he's totally genuine. He's obviously not totally reading off a teleprompter. And while if you compare him to Hillary Clinton, who's totally programmed, I mean it's just night and day. And I mean he was just again he's revolutionized the way campaigns are run. I mean like I said, the shit he said would normally destroy a man 5 years ago, but people perceive that as genuine, even though they might not agree with it. They're like, hey, this guy is, saying what he feels like. He's not being politically correct. He's acting like a real guy. And like I said, I think people are just sick and tired of politicians. They want somebody who's a real man, who has charisma. And Trump's a master. I mean, he's a master of the media. He's a master of getting his message out there. Um, and he's really a master of. He's not only a master, but he's a warrior. I mean, just the way he went out there and did tons of rallies from 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock at night. I mean, it was totally amazing. And again, he took a campaign. He totally fucked over the whole system and said fuck you and just did shit that went totally against politics 101. And it was just amazing to see him tear down the establishment, prove people wrong, and it was just an amazing experience to witness. And this is only the beginning, people. I mean, he's not even president yet. So I mean, this is just going to keep getting crazier. The fight has only just begun to take back our country. I mean, once he gets in there, it's going to be crazy, people. But there you go, people. I'm very glad Trump's president, and like I said, it's been quite a journey, but it's only getting started. It's only getting started, but I am so glad we finally have a person in office who isn't bought and paid for, who's his own man, and I think he's going to do what's best for America, not what's best for political, not political, but not what's best for the special interest. So there you go, people.